Yo, what is up, guys? This is, of course, your boy Bernie here, along with Pete and Brad.
What's up, guys?
And today, we talked a little bit about some overreactions. We talked a little bit about Klay Thompson, and now we're going to talk about this NBA resting policy. This is something that the NBA has implemented to really kind of combat the resting that a lot of these NBA players do. And really quick, let me just announce or kind of what some of the articles that have here say. Um, They call it the new PPP, player participation policy, and their goal is to get NBA stars to play as many games as possible. Um, and then I was trying to see if they had anything on kind of the rules here. So let's see. I guess the question that a lot of people had was like, how do you who do you consider a star? And then Adam Silver kind of went on to talk about it, but essentially they're trying to eliminate these star players from resting, aka Paul George and really Kawhi Leonard, because those two guys are the habitual resters of the NBA. It seems like they're always resting, they're always on the bench in street clothes and never really playing. And really, this is to get the people there to kind of enjoy those guys and to have them uh, have at least show their face there as well. And so that's kind of what the league is trying to do with this. And so I guess I want to kind of throw it to you, P, because you had this as kind of your topic that you wanted to talk about. I mean, what is the biggest thing that you've noticed, or what are the questions that you're having because of all this resting policy?
All right, so I do think it's interesting. Like the so the way that the new rules are defined, there's three valid reasons that an NBA player can miss a game. All right, it's one, an injury, like a
Yeah.
verifiable, provable injury. Two, personal reasons, and three, just like unexpected circumstances. Right? Those are so broad. Like those are unbelievably broad. That basically just makes it so load management is the same. You just have to change why you're load managing, right? Which is pretty much what we've already seen so far. And that's the reason I felt like it's something that's worth talking about. I think the best example we've seen so far was the second game for the Phoenix Suns. They had
Mm-hmm.
Devin Booker and Bradley Beal sitting out, right? The game in which if they really needed it, if this was, 60 games into the season, both of those guys would have been playing in that game,
Yeah.
right? So I think it's a fair question to say what's the difference between that and the load management of years past, right? And I think
Mm-hmm.
that that is genuinely a discussion that's going to come up in the future. Like they're going to have to keep talking about this because they didn't fix the problem. I think that's pretty obvious already that the problem didn't get fixed. So I think something that's interesting to me is like considering what can the league actually do to change
Mm-hmm.
this, right? Because if you're going to leave it this vague, this broad, the players have all the power in their hands to then not sit. Because how are you going to accuse them of not having a valid injury, right? Like there's so many issues with trying to solve this problem by like punitive measurements, right? Like just trying to punish people for sitting is pretty tough, but also trying to have people hold themselves accountable is clearly not the way either, right? So the thing that made me want to talk about this with you guys is kind of a potential fix that I've been hearing discussed, specifically from Kevin O'Connor. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him of The Ringer.
Yeah.
One of the better reporters, in my opinion, currently talking about NBA stuff. But that being said, he's been floating an idea that I think is pretty interesting. And his idea is that the top three seeds in either conference get to choose their first round opponent, which at first, when you sit there and think of it, I think it's a hard pill to swallow. It sounds like a really drastic measure, right? But
Mm-hmm.
I actually think that that might be the best path going forward. And I think for one matter of reason is just the fact that it's not a punishment. It's like an incentivization, right? It's not some measly financial, reward like the in-season tournament. I think is like that's one of those things that is going to try and motivate players to play more, right? Those games count towards regular season games and the in-season tournament. There's that $500,000 incentive for all the players if they win the tournament. The guys, like the big stars that they're trying to combat load management for, that's chump change, right? Like they don't really care about that. And it's an in-season tournament. It's not winning a ring. So I was curious what you guys thought about that idea. Um, And also, just what do you guys think in general the NBA can do about load management? Do you guys think that these rules are actually going to end up working out, that they've already changed, or what's going on from your guys' point of view?
I like the sound. I mean, that's a good idea from Kevin O'Connor. That sounds. We kind of see teams do that. I mean, although they would never admit to it, like, but I'm pretty
That's
sure the
heavy
Warriors.
banking, yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the Warriors lost a game or something last year so they could match up with the Kings because they were like, we
100%.
like that matchup. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it would make sense to make it an incentive and like have teams want to win more games so that they can have that benefit. Um,
Hmm.
my thing with the like how do they penalize star players for sitting would be like I know they said they're going to investigate and then fine teams, but
Mhm.
clearly the fines aren't enough. You'd probably have to like take it more serious with like taking draft picks or something, but then it becomes a whole, it becomes a whole thing because they have to do an investigation and then they have to
Mhm.
deem that that player sitting would doesn't deserve to sit and then they would take
Yep.
draft picks or something, which would be pretty serious. But I don't know. That's the fan like side of me because it does suck when you go and see a player to play and they're not playing, especially a star player. Like it's terrible. I went to see OKC play when I was in Texas for a second, and Russ was sitting, PG was sitting, it was Melo was sitting. It was terrible. I was
Yeah,
hurt.
that's
I was
abysmal.
distraught.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to watch Dennis Schroeder cook the Mavericks, and but the player side of me, like man, like basketball is hard on the body, dude. So
It
like
really is.
yeah, especially NBA basketball, bro. Like
Mhm.
I'm gonna play basketball today with Bernie, and like I know after my body's gonna hurt, and I'm a
Yeah.
regular working dad. So like these guys who do it as a job at an extremely high level, man. Like if Jimmy Butler says he needs to rest a back to back, and he's 34, I know it's the first week of NBA basketball, so it's kind of crazy. But like I can kind of also see, he's had 3 games in 1 week,
Mhm.
so like it's a really tough balance. I think the NBA has like their hands full with that problem.
Yeah, they really do. What do you think, Bernie?
Yeah, I mean, I think the tough part is like, they defined a star player as someone that has been an all-star, all NBA player in the previous 3 seasons. So technically, like, I think according to this article, Ben Simmons is a star player. Um,
Yuck.
whereas like Klay Thompson isn't because he's been hurt, for the last couple of years. And so I
Yeah.
think to me that's the tough part to kind of swallow is like how do, like, because I mean, obviously, the guys like Victor Wembanyama, he's I would say considered a star player just instantly by the way he got drafted. But if he's going to sit out games, I'm sure that the NBA is going to be like, what the heck. And so that to me is kind of like a tough thing to kind of see because like I don't know, like you said, Brad, like the player in me or the coach in me also is like, yeah, some of these guys do need rest because you don't want them to aggravate and get a bigger injury later down the line because you are going to need these
Hmm.
players for the playoffs.
Which we've seen happen before multiple times, like too
Yeah,
many times.
yeah. But I really think that this rule was created because of players like Kawhi Leonard, who just continuously sit down in the yacht that was given to him by uh what's the dude's name?
Is it
Steve
Steve
Ballmer.
Ballmer?
Steve Ballmer.
Yeah.
There you go. Thank you. Appreciate it. Like Steve Ballmer, like he's sitting in the yacht that Steve Ballmer gave him. He's chilling. Like he's in the waters of LA while his team is out there battling. And so I could see why the NBA created this rule. It's a similar situation, like for me, like with the Ben Simmons thing and, all the stuff that happened with him. And so to me, like what I want to make sure is clear is that, you know, I think players do have the right to sit down and rest. Um, but it's when players take it too far, and we see this in everyday life. It's not just NBA players, but just people in general, right? They take, there's some loose, what's the right word? Like loose rules, but people kind of bend the rules or break the rules consistently, and that's when like your company or someone that is like, all right, we're gonna actually change the rules so you can't do that. And so that's something that I think this is the reaction to it. But I think you're right, Brad. Like this won't have any impact unless like you take away draft picks or you take away or suspend players. Like that's the only way that I think you could be like that these teams would actually take it serious. So
Yeah.
that I'm just I'm not a fan of it, but at the same time, if it gets guys like Kawhi Leonard and Paul George to finally play more, um, then I'm okay with it because those are the two. I would say Kawhi is really the habitual uh rester in the NBA. Like this dude, like I don't think he's played more than 65 games in a while. And so, that's where to me this rule was created for a guy like him. So players can say, like, okay, we can't do this anymore. But yeah, I'm at a loss
To
for
be fair,
words
he
for the
has
scene.
Swiss cheese for knees, but yeah.
Yeah. I also, yeah, he's in a weird spot for sure. That's kind of why I like going back to the original idea of making it so these top three teams get to choose their opponent. That's why, like, I think making it less about the punishment and more like we need to make these regular season games count for as much as they possibly can. Like raising the importance and the stakes of the regular season games to me seems to be the best option because like ultimately what does suspending guys do other than just make the
It just
rest
hurts your
like
product.
yeah, it just makes you're making load management forced. You're giving them extra days off at that point
Yeah,
just for the sake of taking a day off, right? Um, that's the kind of punishment I was looking forward to as a kid in school. Like, oh, you're gonna punish me by making me not come
right,
here? Okay, thank you.
right.
I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
exactly.
This is exactly why I get in trouble in the first place. Um, but yeah, I like the idea of making that change just because I think it goes for a couple of things that it adds to a couple of things the NBA has been lacking for, right? One, incentivizing these regular season games to be important, like I said, but also it's a chance to artificially create some rivalries, right?
Hmm.
Like I think the idea of those top three seeds choosing their opponents, like imagine how disrespected the teams they're going to be choosing are going to
Yo,
feel,
that's
right?
immense disrespect.
And the stakes with those series after that, right? Like, oh, you picked us, like you're the 1 seed, you picked us a 5 seed in the first round. You think we're that bad? Like those types of series would be magical just from the narrative storylines of how hard the teams work to even make the choice in the first place, and then when it backfires, imagine the first time it backfired, right? The team chooses some low seed or some team they think they own, and then they blow that series. That's a huge storyline for the
Hmm.
NBA. I think that is really where they need to look instead of trying to punish these guys. Like that clearly doesn't work. Like it's these guys don't care about getting punished. What are you going to do to them? Look at James Harden's situation. Like look at Ben Simmons of the last few years. I mean, none of this stuff is really, when it comes down to it, they're still going to get paid and the NBA still needs to put a product out on the court, right? So they're going to bend over to put these guys back out there as soon as they can, regardless if they break the rules or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Ugh.
mean, I think I do like that solution, but I have another solution. Like,
This is what
what
I was
if,
looking for. I want to hear some other ideas too.
what if? Because I think you're totally right. Like, you have to make regular season games matter more, especially when they
Mhm.
opening night. You throw on 12 games all at 4 o'clock. How are we all supposed to
Yes.
watch these and care about these? Not everybody is going to rotate screens and laptops like we probably do.
Yeah, we're the 1% of doing that
Exactly.
for sure.
Exactly. So like I think they should shorten the regular season, honestly, because I just think
Yes.
back to backs are just an insane toll on the body. You cannot blame. I know it's the first week, but bro, Jimmy is 34, coming off a finals appearance. You want him to play in a back to back in the first week? Like the negative effects that would have on his body is crazy, you know. So
Yep.
I really can't blame him for wanting to sit games like that. I can't blame LeBron. The Lakers play today. I think they play the Magic tomorrow. We're gonna see if LeBron plays because he's 38 or 39, something, you know. So
Hmm.
I think by shortening the regular season, they would make games matter more because there's less games to be played. So teams have to take those games more seriously. And then you eliminate back to backs, which gives you a better product because players are more well rested. Players have, had more time to recover. We saw what the bubble did to players. Like that quick turnaround had AD messed up. It had Jamal Murray messed up. Like I truly
Hmm.
believe that those two got messed up because of that. So
Hmm.
you just have to they would never do it because of money, but you have to look past the money. Like, oh, the short-term money you would lose shortening the season, you would make up in the long term by getting a better product and getting more people interested.
100% agree.
Yeah.
Totally, totally, totally agree. It's really like that's the one thing that always gets me is people talk about, well, like in the 90s they're playing back to backs multiple times, every other week they're playing back to backs, but it's like people do not account for the difference in pace in
The
today's
pace is
game.
ridiculous. Like,
It's astoundingly different to what it used to be. Like there is a vast difference between just kind of standing relatively still but banging into guys and having to run full speed and bang into guys every night. Like
mhm.
that's the difference. These guys are in motion all the time, and the guys who aren't need to be more to even be better.
Mhm.
Like we talked about Trae Young earlier. If you're not constantly in motion in the NBA today, you're not doing enough realistically. So this is one of the things that always gets me with basketball. It's the lack of nuance with respecting the past and past players and the league and the sport the way it used to be, but also like evolving in a way that actually makes sense for the changes of the game, right? Like that balance it's really tough for the NBA to find, I think. Like they really struggle between not disrespecting the past, but also having to get out of their way in terms of making too much money or not making enough money, I guess, is probably what they're always worried about.
Mhm.
Yeah, man, there's no reason to be playing back to backs nowadays. There's just no reason. And
Yeah.
especially like teams on road trips playing back to back. That's not even just coming from a Knicks fan who watched them get smacked on a road trip back to back. Like it's generally speaking, these guys play way too hard for that to be a reasonable expectation for any of them, right? It's pretty crazy, especially when all of the money making is on their backs anyway, you know?
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a very interesting situation to figure out as the league kind of continues to see like how they can get some of these guys playing. I think the awards is definitely a step in that right direction about the minimum amount of games you have to play. I also agree with you, Pete, in terms of like, maybe a playoff incentive would be a great way to do it. Um, so it'll be very interesting because the problem with the shortening the season, I just don't see the owners doing it.
No, yeah, they won't.
Even
They're
10 games. Just make it
They should
72.
just at least eliminate back to backs. Like we have too much evidence that supports that that's just not good.
yeah. But
Yeah.
if there's money to be made, these owners are willing to make it. And so let us know in the comment section down below. What do you guys make of all these stories and so much more in the comment section down below? We love to hear what you guys think about NBA resting. Do you guys agree? Do you guys agree with Pete and Kevin O'Connor's idea of a playoff incentive, picking the team that you get to play in the playoffs for being a top seed? Or what else the league should do to get some of these guys to play. I know that this is one way that they're trying to combat it. Do you guys agree? Do you guys disagree? Let us know in the comment section down below. But anyway, guys, that's going to do it here for the charge. Thank you once again to Brad and Pete for hopping on and talking some hoops.
Pleasure to
Thank you.
do so,
Thank
my
you.
guys.
Yeah. Always. Thank you for having us.
Yep.
And of course, guys, please remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button and watch the videos like I've been saying earlier in many different videos. We appreciate the number of views going up on the videos. And that's just due to you guys being entertained by the content and really listening into what we have to say to about these players and about the league. Because again, we're basketball hoop junkies. We love the game so much, and we're trying to grow this game, trying to grow it in an online community as well. And let us know in the comment section what else would you guys would like to see from the channel. Would you guys like to see more Twitter Spaces? Would that be something people are interested in? Let me know in the comment section down below. But anyway, guys, that's gonna do it here. Thank you once again for tuning in, and we'll catch everybody on the next episode of The Charge. Peace.